Hi guys, welcome to another video on Diablo 3. My name is Wilfred. Today let's talk about the set dungeon because every season journey we have to master one set dungeon. It doesn't really matter which set dungeon you do. Of course, if you pick the set that is for your class this season, that is a lot easier for you to start doing it. But I often just pick the easiest one because it doesn't really matter which set you use so long as you've done it and it counts as a win. So part 1 of the video just share with you the successful run. The part 2 of the video talk a little bit about the build, some of the gear that I use and some tips that may help you do your set dungeon as well. Alright. For the Immortal King set dungeon, all you need to do is just make sure that you call your ancient, the call of an ancient right at the beginning of the dungeon. Keep the Wrath of the Berserker up all the time. If you can't, make sure you pop it before you take down any elite. That's about it. The dungeon is not that big and it's a very good way to learn how to, the set piece as well, because it's the first time I use Immortal King. I did not succeed in the first try because I wasn't sure how to play the whole set, but then after I figure out the second try, I get it sorted. So it's probably one of the most enjoyable set dungeon I've ever played in this game. I think every class have one set that is rather straightforward, and I think all set dungeons should be that way. So back to this whole Immortal King set dungeon. As long as you keep your Call of the Ancient up and then you pop your Berserker Rage as and when it's required, basically uptime all the time. I've got it like 100% uptime, and you just whirlwind everything, or you can do whatever you want. But I find that whirlwind is probably one of the best, easiest, especially coming from the season 15 perspective, because I've got the raised set items, which is I'm using. First time playing the Immortal King, and it worked really well because all my gear is really about the whirlwind, which is a lot of movement speed as well. And with that said, I mean, I did some mistake, wasn't sure where to go and so on. But in the end, time wasn't really a big concern. So that's really straightforward. Yep, that's about it. Yeah, I think there was still a few items, a few elites towards the end, but it's really not much of a big challenge once I figure out how to use the set items. And you will see just a couple more, and I got it down within like I don't know how many minutes, but there's really a lot of time left. I could have done it a lot better had I knew the map, but it is just what it is. So next part of the video, I'm going to share with you the build I'm using, the gear that I'm using to get it sorted. And it's one of the good kind of set dungeon whereby the better gear you have, the better chance you get it sorted for your set dungeon. Alright. On to the part 2 of the video, I'd like to share with you the build I use, the gear that I use for the Immortal King set dungeon. So this season 15 is the Wrath of the Waste, which I'm using here. Now I didn't really want to do the, I do not intend to play the set dungeon for this set because I don't think it's straightforward, and I never enjoyed set dungeon, so I like to pick one set dungeon that's easiest. So as I was playing the game, and I've got the whole set of Immortal King, so why not do the Immortal King? By the way, you can use the armory to quickly switch between the build as well as the set items, because for set dungeon, even if you play the same set that you use, very likely you have to do something different. So just save your set first, and then you can equip for another one, which I'm doing here for you guys. Now this is the Immortal King set dungeon. So Immortal King set, what it does is that your Core of the Ancient lasts until they die, so that is really cool. So all these guys here will just stay with you throughout, so that's Immortal King. And that's important for the set dungeon because you need to kill enemies while your buff is up, which one of them is Core of the Ancients. Now the second one is the Berserker Rage, that you have to be up. So with the Berserker Rage and the Call of Ancient, then you got the 1500 kind of like increased damage. So long as these two buffs are up, whenever you take down any elite or any enemies within the set dungeon, you win. But the thing about this thing is that this buff is that it doesn't, like, it has a very long cooldown. So I've got the Whirlwind kind of like a build whereby whereby if I use consume, like for example every 10 fury, I will actually shorten the cooldown of the Wrath of the Berserker as well as Call of the Ancient by 3 seconds. Now Call of the Ancient doesn't really matter so long as they don't die. I think you don't need to resummon them, and I advise you not to during the set dungeon, because I've done that my first try. Keep popping the ancients, but I realized that before the ancient was being spawned, and after they've been despawned, there's a lag time, and sometimes it doesn't count as a kill for the objective. So it's a bit silly, but just keep the you just need to make sure that you pop this guy as and when it's ready. So now because of the build that I have, so I would like to demonstrate to you. So this one is on, but then as and when I use like all this fury thingy that I have, and it kind of like even if I don't hit enemy, I can keep 100% uptime of the Berserker, the Wrath of the Berserker. So that is basically the very key of what you do. See, it's 100% uptime. So the green bar is the buff that's wearing out. So long as it drops to 0 means that your buff is no longer there, and you just need to keep it there. And the good thing about this build is that I've got rather unlimited fury. Now to make it work, of course, you have the whole set of Immortal King. I don't pick the shoulder, because the shoulder I have something called the Fury of the Ancients, which kind of nicely go in the build here, because Call of the Ancient gain the effect of the Ancient's Fury rune. So that is very useful. And by the way, I should have re-roll some of this, like increase avalanche damage. That one's useless, but I could put it to either Whirlwind or the one that actually worked for the build, but I'm just too lazy to do that. Didn't need to. So I would suggest get off 6 items besides the shoulder, and then your Call of the Ancient will have the Ancient Fury rune, which is another effect there. The amulet wise, I mean, doesn't really matter which one you use. Really, seriously, doesn't really matter. I use the Hellfire because that's what I have for my Immortal King. For my Wrath of the Waste build, which is a Whirlwind build. So that is nice. And the do I really need Fury Band of Might as well? Actually, no need to as well. It doesn't really matter. I don't. Okay, at my level, I don't think I need to have that kind of like mitigation. However, if you feel that you're a little bit fragile, and Fury charge is always nice, it kind of moves the character a bit faster through places. So but the reality is that you probably want to keep your Whirlwind up to shorten the cooldown of the Wrath of the Berserker anyway. So up to you. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. I'm fine with any ring that you want. Essentially, another one is the of course, the Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac will help a lot, because as and when you hit any enemy, as you can see in the video earlier on, you have you reduce the cooldown of one of my skill by 1 second. So all these things will pop 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. So that is nice. And that's about it really. The main thing that you really need is the Bukatho's Oath, because with that you have both the you have the Fury generation. Now, but if you don't have, is it the end of the day? No, that's fine. If you don't have it, so what you need to do is that in your Whirlwind, you have to pick the Wind Shear, which kind of like gain Fury for every enemy struck. That's one. The second one is that you probably have to pick something like the like some kind of like Weapon Master, or you pick something like Unforgiving that will give you the generate the Fury per 1 second. So that's also very nice. Animosity also nice. So there are a couple of options there, either Unforgiving, Animosity, or Weapon Master if you have a mighty weapon for your main hand. So this will help you to regenerate the Fury that you need to just keep whirlwinding. So your key is just to spam Fury as you do a set dungeon, and that is really it. I mean, if you take a look at my build, it's about it's very standard stuff. The main thing is just to make sure that your Wrath of the Berserker is up, and also Call of the Ancient is up. But whichever rune that you want to pick, I don't think is a big deal. The one that you probably need to have for sure is a Fury generator, be it as a Warcry, or for me as a Fury charge as well. But there's plenty of way to generate Fury. So long as your Fury is always being kept, and you can just whirlwind all the way through your set dungeon, that's really easy stuff. So thank you so much for tuning in. I've got feedback in my last season that I talked too much on the gear and whatever session. So I swapped the order. I play the dungeon first and then talk about the build. And good luck with your season 15. This is episode 100. Time fly. I really enjoyed this game, Diablo 3. I'll talk to you again next time. Goodbye.